thank you so much for being here, Malinka and Luisa. We're glad you're here. And my name is Joanne Carruthers. I am the Associate Head of School and also the Admissions Director. Sorry, she's not able to get in yet. It's my pleasure to welcome you today. I'll just tell you a little bit how this hour is going to go. There are a number of questions that are going to be posed and answered by our alumni and our parents who will be joining us. And they'll tell you a little bit more about what it's like to be the parent of a Stanstead student or to actually be a Stanstead student, and tell you more about the school as a whole. I'll just, before I introduce each of them, I will just let you know that Stanstead is a small boarding school located in the province of Quebec, so in the eastern part, oh, we just lost one, the eastern part of Canada, in the province of Quebec, which is French speaking, and Stanstead is an English school in the French part of Quebec, about 2 hours from the city of Montreal. We're a small private boarding school, so we have just under 250 students from grade 7 to grade 12 from all around the world. Most of our students are Canadian, about 35% are international from 25, almost 25 different countries around the world. And we have students from the US, about 15% from the US, and the majority from Canada. So even though we're located in Quebec, it's an English school, and a really super cliche, but it's a family style school. This is a place where students really get a chance to shine and be themselves by trying a lot of new things. Obviously with the climate, there is the winter component, and students also get an opportunity to do either sports, extracurricular activities, learn French, experience winter, all in a really safe and secure small boarding school with students from around the world. Most of our teachers live on campus, and our school itself is in a very small, I wouldn't say town, I would say probably village. So, and a population of under 4,000 people who live here, very rural. You will see on our site information about the school and a virtual tour. But in a nutshell, that is our school. I'm going to introduce the people who will be speaking today as maybe we go off, and we try to bring them in. So joining me, who's on right now, is Logan Vanas, who is an alum from 2008. Am I right? 2008?
2009, I graduated, but
yeah,
yeah,
I was close. 2009, I was close, sorry. 2009, and actually is now working here at the school. So loved the place enough that he wanted to come back and continue working here. Also with me is a recent graduate. Our head prefect last year is Rosalie Gadoua-Giroux, so a graduate of 2020, our COVID graduate, right? Our first virtual graduates. Rosalie was here in grade 10, 11, and 12. And can speak from a current alum's perspective. And joining us shortly will be Julie Young, who's the parent of two boys, one who is still here at the school, and one who has already graduated and is studying at McGill University in Montreal. Moderating is my colleague Ross Murray, and he'll be overseeing the questions. But that's pretty much the stint of what I'm going to say. If you do have questions, excellent. If you do have questions as we are going through, you're welcome to post your questions on the chat and we will get to them. We do have a list of sort of pre-asked questions that our alums and parents will address. But in the meantime, I hope you'll just enjoy finding out a little bit more about our school. Julie Young, thank you. This is mother of Ryan and Patrick. Julie, I have already introduced you, although you were not here. But thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're with us today. So I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Murray, and our moderator, and I will be here to answer questions as we go forward. Thanks all for being here. Thank you to our alum. Rosalie, you look great. I haven't seen you in a while. She has her little Stanstead board behind her in Montreal, right? So there you go. You got your stand. That's great. Your Stanstead wall. So she'll tell you a little bit more about that, but I'll pass the reins over to you, Mr. Murray.
Okay, hi. So welcome, and I'm going to start off with a couple of questions for our two alumni here, and to get things rolling. So what did you, Logan and Rose, what did you appreciate most about the school during your time here? And compare that with whether you've changed your opinion on that now that you're a year, or in your case, Logan, a few years out of school. Go ahead. Why don't you start, Rose?
Okay, yeah, so that's a pretty easy one for me, because for the past 3 years at every single tour, every single recruitment event, I've always answered the same thing, and it's the people. My classmates, teachers, coaches are what I've appreciated the most during high school. And I've definitely created very strong bonds with my teacher. And I think a good example of that is that every year for my birthday, Mr. Samard, my grade 10 history teacher, and also probably one of my best friends, I don't know if that's sad, but it is what it is. He would bring me sweets and give me a hug for my birthday. And this year, Miss Carruthers, she wrote all of us a little card and also gave us candy. And I don't know if a lot of teachers have done that for you in your life, but I think it's pretty sweet. It's pretty nice. And I'm definitely very happy with the relationships I've formed with all of my teachers and coaches, even the ones who did not get me gifts. Mr. Vanos, I'm looking at you. You too, Mr. Murray. Also, the students, I think, we're kind of quirky. We definitely have very different interests and personalities, but we all magically get along. And maybe that's because what we have in common is that we're proud of that quirkiness. I went to another school for my first year of high school, and the fact that I liked being involved and I had clear goals made me a little bit of an outcast, I guess. It wasn't cool to care. It wasn't cool to try hard. And I was worried that it was going to be the same at Stanstead. But people like that I studied for my grades. They like that I tried, because everyone here is invested and tries really hard. Like when I told them I loved public speaking, I was interested in politics, no one ever mocked me. It was mostly like, oh, you should join Model UN. And I did. And then everyone encouraged me to kick butt before every competition. And I also did. So I don't know. I think like growing those really close bonds, I really appreciated that. And now that we don't see each other every day anymore, we've kind of moved on with our lives. We're all doing very different stuff, but we still talk all the time. All the time. I'm up to date with what everyone's going through in their lives. If I'm going through something, I can tell anyone. I have so many people I can tell. It's hard to decide who I'm going to tell, because I grew such a big, important support system from Stanstead, and I love them, and I'm going to love them even more in 10 years because they're stuck with me for life. So yeah, the people.
That's a good segue to go to you, Logan, because you have been out of school for 10 years. Does what Rose say, does it sound familiar to you, and has it changed in the time since you've been a student here?
Yeah, I will say what she brought up right away. Absolutely, the thing I cherish the most about my 2 years here is pretty well everyone that I went to school with, I'm still in contact with. Without a doubt, my closest friends that I have in life today are all people that went to Stanstead College that I went to school with. Same as Rosalie, a lot of times I won't see them for 6 months, a year and a half, but the special part about it is we get so close in our time at Stanstead that as soon as we see each other now, we're able to pick off right where, kind of things left off. So it's really special, kind of the bonds that you have, not only with the students, as she said, the teachers, now some of them are my coworkers. So that's also a neat aspect for me. I would say over time, something that's kind of changed that I appreciate a little more. I would say I did a little bit in university, even more now with a working schedule, is learning time management. I think at Stanstead, they keep you extremely busy. There's not a lot of free time. So at the time, it's something maybe as a student we didn't appreciate. We wanted more free time, more time to hang out with our students. But later in life, I've kind of realized that's really taught me how to time manage very well. right? So you have all these things on your list, all these things you've got to do. And Stanstead kind of taught me how to manage all those things and get them done on time, whether, through the study periods, getting all the homework, making sure it's done on time. So I would say that's the one thing that's really changed, is the appreciation of how I kind of valued the time management.
Why don't we get a parent's point of view here and jump to Julie. Julie, just tell us a little bit about who you are as a parent in terms of Stanstead College. Tell us a little bit about your boys, and why did you decide to choose Stanstead College originally?
Hello, and I have two boys. So I had my eldest son graduated in 2019, and I have a senior currently. And we live in the Derby line, which is right across the border, very close, yet still it seems miles apart right now due to the conditions that we're under. So, but years ago, because I have a son who ended up going there basically 5 years, and one who will be a lifer at Stanstead. My eldest son originally came home one day and said that he was interested in Stanstead College and that he wanted to go look at it and he wanted to visit it. And so, it was on my radar, and I immediately, went on to look at it to see what he was talking about. There was a friend that was interested in applying, and he was wanting to go also. So, I thought there's certainly worse things that my, then 12-year-old could be advocating for. And so I allowed him to go for a visit, to take a tour, and to spend the day there. So that's really, I think that was, as a parent, that reassured me that the school was, allowing my son to be able to go and just get a sense of what the school was going to be like. So, the expectations we had prior to that changed after he went. So for me, I guess the expectations that I had of the school were that they would be committed to my son, to his education, to learning and opportunities. Because I knew that there were a lot of foreign students, he was going to have the opportunity to be exposed to many cultures, the language and the different, cultural differences, like the holidays. And one of my big expectations was that there would be preparation for university. Now, if you were to ask me what I didn't, realize was going to happen, was the relationships that they were going to build there and the social emotional development that they were going to get at Stanstead, which, being in the mental health field, I realized how important of a foundation it is for our youth to know and to understand about themselves to be able to go on.
Thanks, Julie. Next question would have to be, this is we're part of a virtual school fair right now. So presumably you're looking at different schools and you're exploring different options. So I guess the question we'll put it to you again, Rose. And you've been to another school yourself. What makes Stanstead different from other schools that you've been to, and in your experience with maybe visiting other private schools, what makes us stand out?
For me, right away, it was size. Definitely the size, because obviously boarding schools in general are going to be much smaller than public or private day schools. But even when you look only at Canadian boarding schools, Stanstead is small. If you look at Appleby, Ridley, Ashbury, whatever, a boarding school in Ontario, you're looking at student bodies of well over 500 students, which is gigantic next to Stanstead's 250 students. And I think that that size made a very big difference in my experience and education in high school. When you look at academics, I got incredible support, help, and focus from my teachers. The average class size, maybe I'm wrong, miss, but I think it's 12, something like that, around that. It differentiates in different classes and different grades, of course, but you really can't compare the focus you're going to get in a class of 12 from a class of the standard 30 in a day school. My favorite class ever was Advanced Placement Politics in grade 12. And in that course, we were 7 students. So we kind of got to design the curriculum based on what we all wanted to learn, what we were interested in. You also get the opportunity much more to have small, let's say, Harkness table discussions where the teacher doesn't get involved that much and we get to discuss between each other readings or topics, whatever. We really get to have more discussion. And I really like that. I feel like I had a better experience because of the small classes. And overall, just being in a small school, at the other school I went to, it was the end of the year and I was still seeing people I had never seen in my life before. But after 3 days at Stanstead, you kind of know everyone's names. Like there's no way around it. You're gonna know everyone. And maybe that, you know, some people like the anonymity of a big school. But I don't like that. I like being able to say hi to everyone when walking to class and knowing everyone's favorite color or where they're from. I just enjoy it. I enjoy getting to know people. And so that we weren't many, it really allowed us to mix together instead of having small cliques, I suppose, that you see in most schools where you're a group of 5 or 6 and you don't really interact with other people. You really know everyone and are friends with everyone, and you can sit wherever you want during meals and you always have a friend there, which I really, really liked.
Logan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Why don't we move on to another question? Go back to you, Julie. What do your, as you say, Patrick has graduated and Ryan is still here. What do they tell you about the school? Like, what is their impression of Stanstead College? When they talk to you about the school and they say, this school did X, what is the X for them?
I had one that started in 8th grade there, and then the other one started in 7th. And over the years, you know, they were going to school, having fun, making friends, you know, participating in things, learning. It was all really fun and exciting. And then they get to a certain age where they're like, oh yeah, we have to go to university, and we have to study, and we have to learn. And right now, I would say what my 2 young men would say is that it's a positive environment, you know, where the education, academics is appreciated and valued. You know, doing your best, trying your best is really important. And sometimes you're going to succeed and sometimes you're not, but that's part of the lesson that you learn there. And that's what they would say. I think they would say that, you know, they love having friends from all over the world. They love being able to learn new words. They love being able to you know, find out about, you know, some of the things that they do. They also, you know, are really happy with the athletics there. I happen to have 2 boys that really value rugby, and that's not something they would have been able to do had they gone to, you know, another school in the area. And, you know, not only for the boys, I think also the females love, all the females that I know of love, you know, the rugby matches. And so there's not just that though. There's so many activities there that are team focused or their individual sports. And so whatever, you know, your interest lies, you have a wide variety of options. And, you know, the importance of being able to, you know, try a sport each trimester or each semester. I'm not sure how exactly it's worded there, but, you know, encourages them to go outside their comfort zone and to try something new. And so that was really, really awesome. And they really would say that they, you know, like that. And I think that being, you know, on a dorm-like environment, they get a social life. So they get to hang out with their friends who essentially, both of them have said, it's their family. It's their second family. And they just really, really love that.
Something about that, like, I liked a lot is the fact that when you go to a boarding school, the people that you're with are the people you live with. So they, in some ways, become a second family.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm also a huge rugby fan. I've played it for 3 years now. And one of the reasons why I was interested in going to Stanstead is because of the rugby team.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, we're about halfway in here, so why don't we turn it over to our visitors. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask any of our roundtable guests right now?
I had a question about, because I looked at other Ontario schools and all of their rugby seasons are at the same time as their girls' soccer season, but is yours like that as well, or is it different times?
Who's going to answer that?
I can. No, so soccer would fall into would be the fall term. Sorry. So soccer, you would have the opportunity to play as soon as you came in September, all the way through to the end of October. Whereas rugby would be more after our March break. So you'd come back and hopefully the snow's gone when you come back in early April. And if it is, then you'll start rugby right away. So typically, you'd play rugby from we'll say the middle of April all the way up until the beginning of June. So for somebody like you that likes both rugby and soccer, those are two different options you could do. And you would also have to do something in the winter, obviously, which is, you know, we have hockey, we have basketball, what else, swimming. Yeah, so there's several options each term.
Is each student obliged to play 3 sports, like one at each different term?
Yes, exactly. So everybody here, so a typical day would be classes finishing at 3:30, and everybody has to go participate in a sport after that. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays are sports days. So you would do your sport from 3:30 till 5:30 or 6, and you have to do 3 different sports and everybody participates. So some people that are really into sports, you know, they'll be part of these teams that play games and practice all the time. But there's also options for people that are less into team sports and want to do something like outdoor pursuits or intramurals. So they don't play games against other schools, but they're still active and they're doing some sort of physical activity.
Okay, perfect. And do you guys also offer, like Rosalie talked about Model UN, do you guys have like other extracurricular activities that aren't athletic?
Yeah, do you want me to take this one again, Ross? Or? Yeah, I'm on a roll here. So yeah, we do for sure. So every Thursday, you don't do sports. It's called a club day. So that's something I believe Rosalie probably would have done debate. We have like a chess club, board games, school play, community service, jazz band, or soundtracks where they're getting together and playing music. So there's all kinds of options. So that's on a Thursday. And then in terms of other extracurriculars and other things you can do is on weekends, there's always organized animation trips. So that could be going to visit a restaurant, could be going to do maybe bowling, laser tag, a corn maze, really all kinds of stuff. So usually Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, there's always organized activities as well to do stuff.
Okay. Trying to find another question.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, how many students are boarding students? Like, what's the ratio for boarding students to day students?
Joanne, do you want to take this one?
Sure. It's typically about 70% boarding. So the majority of our students are boarding, and about 30% day students. So it's a pretty good mix. Whereas you have, You know, Canadian boarding schools can vary, but our school is what we call primarily boarding. So a good mix. So about 100 and typically about 180 boarding students.
And it follows the Ontario school system. So would that mean that I would, because right now I'm currently in Sec 5, would that mean that I would apply for grade 11 like for other Ontario schools?
So if you, do you mind if I take this one? Second. Okay. We follow in grade up to the end of grade 11, we follow the Quebec curriculum, and then we offer more advanced courses beyond the Quebec curriculum as well. So we follow what the Ministry of Education prescribes in our province. In grade 12, we follow more or less the Ontario curriculum, but most of our courses in grade 12 are AP, so at the Advanced Placement Program. So the politics course that Rosalie was talking about is the Advanced Placement Comparative Politics. Many of our other courses in grade 12 are also Advanced Placement, which follow the curriculum that's outlined by the College Board. So it's not Ontario based, it's really AP, and our other ones are very much like the grade 12 courses, the university courses from the Ontario curriculum. But I'd say the majority of students do a combination of both AP and our other grade 12 curriculum. So Malika, where are you from?
Montreal.
Montreal, excellent. So you're in Sec 5 now?
Yes, I'm in Sec 5.
Okay, so you would be coming into grade 12 probably. You wouldn't go into grade 11. You would be going directly into grade 12 and be doing a 1-year pre-university year in our amazing Cowan House, which is the residence for grade 12 students.
And would there be no possibility of me going into grade 11? Like, would I have to go into grade 12?
No, we look at each case individually. So if that's the right choice, we have students that come into grade 11 after having completed a grade 11, depending on sometimes it's if they need to or want to do more advanced courses, if they're coming from a different, having studied in a different language, moving into grade 11, we just don't want students to repeat the same courses. You take more advanced courses, that would be the idea, or more advanced courses in a different language. But yes, you could definitely do that.
Okay. And what is a typical day for a student? Like, what's the schedule like?
Rosalie, you want to answer that?
I'll try my best, sir. So it kind of depends on the day, but for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, you start classes at 8 or 8:30. Yes. Okay. I'm so sorry. My schedule.
Just do a typical day without the absolutes. Just a general typical day.
So you have classes, and then you go to some days you have assembly where there's going to be teachers making announcements about different things going around the school, and then you'll have 2 other classes, lunch, and then 2 more classes, and you will go either to sports or your club, and then dinner. And you also have study after dinner for 2 hours in your room. And, after that, free time also between your club or sport and dinner, you have free time before study also. So it kind of depends on your schedule, but you do have time during the day to do your own personal stuff. And on Wednesday, school ends early. I know I heard it's different this year because of COVID, but usually you end the day at lunch, so at 12:45. And then in the afternoon, you have longer practices, but they start earlier for the majority of sports. And so then you have more free time in the afternoon to do whatever it is you want. Maybe Ms. Carruthers, you can add on to that, because school didn't finish that long ago, but it kind of feels like it did.
No, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go through the changes that we did for COVID this year because it's not typical, and we will be sort of resuming. But essentially, it's that there's generally 6 periods a day, most days, right? And the sports every day, and if it's not sports, it's clubs. and did you talk about supervised study? So it's a pretty structured day. Like I think that's probably the important differentiator between us and either public schools or day schools is it's pretty structured. So you have to go to your classes, you have to go to a sport or a club activity. You get to choose the ones you want to do. So it can be soccer, it can be rugby or other things. It can be Model UN, or it could be something else. But the structured study in the evening is a required study period for all students. So you will have all of our students, depending on it sort of gets more the older you get. So by the time you get to grade 12, students typically have a good 2 hours of homework, probably more, right, Rose? In grade 12, typically they have a little bit more than, not a little bit, some days much more than 2 hours of homework in a night, much more like university setting. So, but it's a busy day.
But honestly, I think it's good because I'm much more organized. I need to, in the morning, I need to kind of have my to-do list and fixed times for everything I'm going to do. I became really structured. And in university, you're so busy all the time. I'm really close to Julie's son, Patrick. He lives 45 seconds away from here. I took that into consideration when I chose my apartment. My mom said, Rose, you're living near Patrick. I don't care what the apartment looks like. You are staying near Patrick. So that's what I did. And we go to the same grocery store, live on the same street. I have not seen him once. He works full time. He takes 6 classes. I hope he takes the time to call you, but I'm not sure because I've never seen anyone so busy. And I don't think he could do it all if he hadn't gotten used to that schedule of always being busy and always having something going on.
But I really like that because I've always been someone who has like a bunch of extracurricular activities after school. Like my mom signed me up for absolutely everything. And sometimes I do complain about being busy, but I know that if I wasn't busy, I would be bored. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. Does your school offer financial aid?
I'll take that question. We do. So Stanstead offers both financial aid and scholarship. So on the admissions section of our website, there's something called, it outlines our fees, but there's also a section that says fees and scholarships. Scholarship, it says scholarships, I think. And the details about that are outlined. Financial aid is based on need and merit, so how you will contribute to the school. And scholarships are largely academic based, and those are based on a scholarship exam that's written in February each year. So both scholarships and financial aid are available for our Canadian and American students, and we have a limited amount available also for international students. So definitely is.
And what kind of French classes would I be taking? Because French is my first language. So do you guys offer higher level French even though it's an English school?
Yeah, we do. So French, now if you were to come into grade 12, in our grade 12, we only have one French course and it's AP French, which is really a second language French course. It would be, I dare say, too easy for you. But at all other grade levels, so grade 7 to 11, we offer beginner, intermediate, advanced French because we have students coming from everywhere. French is mandatory, so all students must take French even if they've never taken it before. But we also offer a 4th level, which is Français langue maternelle. So if you are studying in French now, you would be doing this particular class in your French school, but we offer it despite being an English school. So English second language, but then French is a first language, which is really French literature. So just as difficult as you've had it in the past. It's a good challenging course, but grade 12 would not be a challenging course in terms of the French level.
Okay, perfect. I think that finishes all the questions I had for today.
You have great questions.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll come back to both of you at the end if you have more questions. And if you think of anything in the meantime, you can always put them in the chat, and we can, so you don't forget it. Let's ask just another question about the values of the school. Julie, if you want to jump in, how would you describe the values of Stanstead College?
Oh, wow. I can't speak. There's so much that I would want to say about this. You know, for me, my children are the most important things in my life. And so you know, looking at the school and seeing what the school has offered to them and the opportunities that they've been given. You know, I'm so forever, ever grateful. You know, one of the things that is really important, and again, I keep on going back to this, but being in the mental health and counseling field, you know, there are certain things that are really important for students to have a good handle on so that they'll be better prepared in the future. And one of the things that I feel Stanstead offers is the environment, the positive environment for social emotional development. And so what I mean is being able to communicate. So teachers encourage the students to approach them. The school, you know, has different things in place for kids to be able to communicate their needs. They also, you know, by teaching independence and confidence, self-esteem, you know, in trying new things, you have to be responsible for yourself. But, you know, as a high schooler, you might think, oh my goodness, that seems like a lot. But actually, you'll be in such a better place once you go on to university. And I'm sure people can attest to that on the call. You know, being able to have those organization skills and the independence and confidence. I had no concern at all for my son, Patrick, when he left Stanstead in 2019. I knew that he was ready to go on to university. And that was such a relief for me. But I think of him, like he was ready. He was ready to move on and to go on and to try new things. And, you know, the school definitely had a big piece and a part in that. For my son, who's a senior now, he's building on those skills. He's done so well. He's almost there. With this next year of maturity and experiences and challenges, in the fall, he will be ready to move on also. One thing I just wanted to kind of put in there was, I think that most of the students, depending on when students are planning to go to Stanstead, I would say that most of the students that I've spoken to, you know, 1 year might not, you know, I think that they would definitely, if you had the option to do more than 1 year, I think a lot of students have not, you know, certainly regretted that, because it's not just the education prep, but it's also the experiences that you get at the school. You know, for maybe half of the year, there's so much going on, it's new, but, you know, having like 2-3 years under your belt, it just, you know, it makes it so much more an experience. I just wanted to add that in.
I'll jump on that, because we do have a grade 12 program. We're one of the few high schools in Quebec that does have grade 12. And one of the roles of that is to serve as a university preparatory year. Mm-hmm. So maybe Logan or Rosalie, you can talk about how the university guidance, for example, how the school prepared you or helped you make your choices in terms of where you were going to go, what you were going to study. If either of you want to talk on that.
You want me to start, Rose?
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, I was fortunate to be here grade 11 and grade 12. So grade 11, we already started talking about different university options. When I decided to stay for grade 12, throughout the year in grade 12, the university guidance team does a fantastic job. They typically break it up into Canadian students looking for Canadian universities, and then a group that is looking for American universities, or some that are looking for both, I guess, because it's two very different application processes and deadlines. But we meet with them once a cycle in our schedule. So once every, I'd say, couple weeks, you're meeting with the university guidance team. They're making sure that you have everything up to date in terms of what schools you want to apply for. they'll also guide you in, everybody's different in terms of what type of school they wanted. Like I went from Stanstead, which I loved, which is a really small school of 250 kids, to Bishop's University in Sherbrooke, which is 3,000 people. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something really small that was similar to Stanstead. So, we narrowed down my schools, and I wasn't applying to any of these really big schools. I applied to a few in the Maritimes as well that were a bit smaller, because that's what, I was looking for. So they do a great job in helping every single student kind of individually, finding the right fit for them in university. And, now working at the school, we have 100% placement for university. So every single student does have an option, for the most part, to go to great university. So whether you're looking for something in Montreal, something in, Toronto, or an international school, or something in the States, our university guidance team has a ton of experience, and, they can help you with, depending on what path you want to go down for university. Go ahead, Rose.
And pretty much everyone here, has that goal of going to university. So everyone does put a lot of energy into that and work towards that. I always knew I wanted to go to school in the States. I was 5 years old, and I was the French kid who was going to go to school in the US. And with their help, we have the amazing Miss Thompson from Maine, who comes a few times a year, who is specialized for schools in the US. She helped me a lot because it's hard. It is complicated. They use big words on the application, stuff I don't understand myself. And I ended up getting in everywhere, big scholarships everywhere also. And that's partly due because Stanstead really gives you the tools to be a competitive applicant through clubs, sports, academics, everything. And, it's too bad for me. I became a college freshman during COVID. So unfortunately, I had to stay here this year. I go to McGill right now, but I am in the process of college applications, just as if I was still a senior. I'm applying to schools in the US again. Some I already got in, other new ones. I'm applying to school in the UK also. And Miss Hessian and Miss Thompson, thank God for them. They still help me. I graduated and they still help me. Well, I pay Miss Thompson, so I guess she has to help me. I just genuinely love her. So I called her up and I was like, Miss, I hope you remember me. And she was like, Rose, I can't forget you ever, even if I wanted to. So I got her back on my team, and Miss Hessian is still helping me with my rec letters and everything. So they do really care about you, and they want to see you end up where you want to go.
I'd like to talk about Stanstead, the town, the community, just describing the location of Stanstead and what makes, what's unique about that, because we're not in the city. Well, we'll let you describe the location, the environment of the school. So who wants to take that?
You want me to start? Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, this is an easy one for me. I kind of grew up in the area. When I was a student here, I was a day student, so I grew up 10 minutes from here. So yeah, very small community. As Joanne said, it's I would say probably closer to 3,000 people. Very small town. We do have our traditions in town. We have our Tim Hortons, our Subway, 2 gas stations now. But it's, not a whole lot going on in the town. It's pretty quiet. So Stanstead College is a big part of the town. And so we're kind of like our own little community inside of a very small kind of village. So I would say a big advantage to that is the open area. There's tons of space. We have a great campus with all kinds of fields, fresh air, very safe environment. It's also been very safe during the pandemic. We've had under 5 cases in the area of Stanstead around here. So that's been a huge benefit to us as well. But it's, a very small town. And I think what's neat about it being a small town is that typically, well, this year we're in a bubble, but typically students don't really leave campus much. They are allowed to walk into town, go to the grocery store, pick up whatever they need. But for the most part, students stay on campus, which creates a really neat environment because everybody's hanging out with each other. There's probably 15 to 20 teachers that live on campus, including myself. So, you know, you're really involved with the other students. You're always with teachers, other people at the school. So by having a really small town, I think it really forces everyone to stay on campus and kind of create that boarding school environment.
If I
Anyone
could
else?
jump.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, so yeah, right now it's super safe, right? Because it's a small town. But from what my boys have told me, you know, so many of them just walk into town when they were able to, you know, in the future, when you're able to walk in. They just love being able to hang out with each other and go to the grocery store, go to the Tim Hortons or to the Subway to get some food. In particular, right now, I'm not sure if anyone had mentioned it, but this grocery store is opening at special times for the students at Stanstead so that they can go and get food. So when I think of small town, I think of, you know, this grocery store and the community, they're really working together. And so, you know, to be able to do that, not every store would close or commit to something like that. So that's really great. Now, in maybe, you know, standard circumstances, there are also many trips that are offered for students to go in and do. So you go to the movies or you go to, you know, some trips. There's each break, there's some different trips that kids can take part in. And in the past, there've been, you know, homes that you can go and stay during breaks if you don't or choose not to go back home. And so there's so many opportunities. Now during COVID, the school has really increased its, you know, involvement in activities. I think I saw like there was what was the, I can't remember the food competition. What was it called?
Fear factor.
Oh,
Sorry,
so-
Fear Factor.
Yeah.
There was a Fear Factor contest, and they've done like a Family Feud, like a bingo, just fun things. Like I really think that that the activities are just fun. It's so great.
We're almost wrapping up our time here. Do you have any more questions for our roundtable guests?
None that I can think of. I think I asked them all.
Okay. Louisa, if you're there, do you have any questions for our invitees? No? Okay.
Yes, I do have question.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello,
Go ahead.
Rosie said they were having a discussion at some point about curriculum. I want her to go in depth about that because my daughter loves public debate as well.
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question? We didn't quite hear.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to go to class.
Okay, go. Thanks for joining us, Malinka.
Rosalie, hello. Rosalie was mentioning something about public speaking. That is something that she liked. And then they were, at some point, she said they were giving a discussion about the curriculum. I want her to go in details about that because my daughter loves history and public speaking.
Okay, so what are the options for public speaking and maybe how it plays into the curriculum or other options in your academics where you can practice public speaking?
So when I talked about discussing the curriculum, what I meant is mostly that we were in history class and politics class in grades 11 and 12. The class was so small that we kind of got to choose what we were going to talk about and go over based on our different students' interests. But regarding public speaking, it's something I've always liked being on a stage. I've always liked delivering speeches. I've always liked talking to people. So there's Model UN that you can join, which is a mock United Nations Assembly. where, you know, you also deliver speeches from the point of view of a country. But I believe there's like a public speaking, it's not a club, but I think there's one competition a year where some kids can sign up and go to that. I never did it because there's not an actual announcement. So I missed out on my chance. But so you can take part in those, but also through being a prefect, which we did not discuss, but being a prefect is being a student leader. So you get elected by both your classmates and teachers. There's an application process. And then, so you're kind of a role model for the other students. You organize activities, take part in them, and you're kind of a little boss, I guess. You make sure everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And through that, there's also the opportunity of speeches, because you have to make a speech every year talking about whatever you want. And then as head girl, also, there were some speeches that I had to do. I wanted to do them anyway, so I didn't mind. But if that's something you're really interested in, you can also create your own club at Stanstead. Discuss it with teachers and get members, of course, but I'm sure you could create an actual public speaking club where you could find competitions to go to. But that would be up to discussion if your daughter decides to attend.
Okay, thank you. I've got another question about the curriculum. I've got two daughters. The one is in grade 8. It means she will be in grade 9 next year, and the one is in grade 7. Next year she will be in grade 8. What about the curriculum? They are doing French. The one in grade 8 goes to St. Teresa, and they are doing French, and she's doing very well, though it's her first time to learn French. So how many subjects are in your curriculum, and the languages, how many do you have?
So I'll take that question for you. So French is a mandatory course at all grade levels. So both the grades that your daughters would be going into, French is offered right through until the end of grade 12. And in each grade, there are 4 levels of French. So essentially it's beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then French as a mother tongue. So whatever level they are at, they'll be placed in the appropriate level of French. For example, when Rosalie came to the school, she was coming from a French school, so she went into the highest level of French as a mother tongue. Some of our students, sounds like your daughters who are either in French full-time would go into French as a mother tongue, or if they're just learning it or they've only been studying it for a year, they would go into a level that's appropriate for them. Besides that, there's generally, depending on the grade levels, there are 6 to 8 subjects besides French that students study. So English, math, history, the sciences, so that's chemistry, physics, biology. Students do geography, students do art, music, or drama, depending at the different grade levels, but there's a number of different courses. So humanities, languages, and sciences. Besides French, though, there is not another language option as part of the curriculum. So there's not an option for Spanish, for example, or Mandarin or anything like that. However, we do have club activities sometimes where students get the opportunity to do, we have a Spanish club where they can learn conversational Spanish, a Mandarin club where they learn the basics of Mandarin. So those are opportunities, but in terms of curriculum for languages, it's limited to French as a second language or first language, and of course, English.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
If I could just add to that.
Go ahead.
So French was not my son's first language. You know, English is. And when he finished at Stanstead, he's completely bilingual. He is been doing interviews in French. He's had to do some papers. He's completely bilingual, and in part just because of the classes that he had to take. I just wanted to add that in, that, you know, there's quite an opportunity to be able to to be able to get a great foundation on another language, application on another language.
Thanks, Julie. Louisa, do you have any more questions for us?
One last question. I'm in South Africa, and I heard you were talking about scholarship for international students as a certain percentage. So, what would be the requirement for me to enroll the kids and stuff?
I'm not sure if is your question about scholarship or your question is about admission. We do have a limited number of scholarships available to international students or financial assistance for international students. And generally it is based on their academics. So we're looking for strong academic students, and we're looking at overall students who will contribute in an extremely positive way to the school. So that means athletically, academically, as a citizen. So we want to, it's an investment for us as a school, because these funds come from our endowment and from our operating budget, and we invest in students. And the average award for international students is about 10 to 15, maybe up to 20% of fees. For admission, we are looking for grades. We ask students to submit an application which includes their current year transcripts, so whatever marks they're getting as of when they apply, as well as the previous year. We ask for references from the school, so from their grade administrator or principal of their school, from one of their teachers, English or mathematics teacher, a personal reference. We need students to submit a statement of interest letter, why they want to study at Stanstead College and what they want to do in the future, why Canada for our international students. And we do an interview with all students. There is an admissions test or an English language test if that's appropriate. And we ask, of course, for things like birth certificate and a photo of the student. But we're really looking essentially for well-rounded students who want to be involved in a school like ours. This is not a school where students just study. They not only study, they also participate actively in many different sports of their choice, as well as extracurricular and weekend activities, lots of opportunity for leadership. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for in our students. And really students who are enthusiastic about studying in a different country. It's a big investment from you as a family and from students, and we don't take it lightly.